So at the top of the file, we see the first thing here, resolution begin 480 by 800. This is a resolution of the phone that you're using. In my case, I have the Touch HD, and it has in portrait mode a width of 480 and a height of 800. If you were to reverse these values here and have first 800 and then 480, this would be then a layout for the landscape mode on the phone. The next thing I want to mention is whenever you have the semicolon here in a skin file, it basically tells FingerKeyboard to ignore whatever you have on that line. So it won't be taken into consideration for as any code or anything. It's simply a place where you can make notes for yourself or for other people. The next part is the layout begin, and the name here is Eng Long Keys. That's the name I gave it. This is the name that you will see when you go into the options section of FingerKeyboard, and it lists all the different skin files that you have. It would sort it out according to this name over here. The next name that I chose here is ENL. That's the name that I gave this specific layout, and this display name is what's going to be actually be shown on the keyboard itself. On the key, whenever you go to switch to layout, you see at the very top it'll have a certain name for it, and that's what that is. The next thing is the size here. This is the size of the actual keyboard on the phone. The first value is going to be the width of it, in this case 480, so the entire width of the screen. And the second value is 357, that's the height. Now, one thing to mention about the height, and we'll move over to the JPEG here. The height is determined by this top part of the keyboard being or having a value of 0. And then you start counting as you go towards the bottom. In this case, this keyboard has a value of 357 pixels, so the very bottom line down here would be pixel number 357. If you wanted to show the arrows, and I made a note of this on the skin file, all you would have to do is increase the height of the keyboard. So instead of the 0 line being here, the 0 line will end up being, well, let's say somewhere up here. And for this specific skin, if I were to give it a height value of 431 instead of 357, it would put my 0 line up here, and that 431 pixel would be down here. That basically means that everything that you see here on the screen would be moved up, and the extra space at the bottom is a space where you will see the arrows. Of course, you have to have those arrows and everything defined in the skin itself, but that's my opinion is that's the easiest way to hide or show the arrows. Let's go back to the skin file here, and you see that at the bottom in this section here, that's where I have all the arrows defined here. And right now you're not seeing them because I'm restricting the height of the keyboard to 357. If you notice, this entire section of arrows starts at a height of 358 and will go all the way to just a little bit under 431. So obviously this is not being shown if I am limiting the size and stopping it at 357. If I want to see the keyboard, see the arrows, I would just increase it to 431, and then that would show all of this in the bottom. Okay, so that is the size of the keyboard. With the next section, we won't really deal too much. We're just dealing with the basics here. This whole fill, draw, and all the fonts there, the definitions. We'll just leave that as is. We won't worry about it at this point. Okay, so now for the next section, we'll start talking about the individual keys themselves.